Or for a vote before the August recess then?
I do.
Let me move on to the investigators story, because you've done such an incredible job in terms of exposing what has taken place and communicating this to the American people. There are now new questions about misrepresentations in the Mueller report. You've reported that there's certain individuals that are named in the Mueller report, in fact, had no connection to Russia. What can you tell us?
Well, I think what we're starting to see is the deeper the dive we take, Maria, into the Mueller report, we're starting to find out some of the conclusions and actually some of the facts that they put forth in there are a misrepresentation of what we actually know. John Solomon did some reporting recently that would suggest that part of the Mueller report indicated one individual had a connection with Russia when indeed they did not. I think you'll find others in there where it seems like all roads lead to Russia in the Mueller report, and actually what we're seeing in the evidence doesn't suggest that. Listen, we also know that what happened is the FBI knew that they needed to go out after Russia, and instead of going after Russia, they went after the President of the United States, and that's all going to come out. Actually, I've reviewed some additional documents, Maria, that would indicate that prior to that first FISA application, and you're going to have Carter Page on here in just a little bit, but prior to that first FISA application, Peter Strzok, Andy McCabe, and others at the FBI knew that Christopher Steele's dossier was not credible, and they did a rush to make sure that they could actually surveil him. That will come out because there's a cover-up that happened within certain realms at the FBI.
And that's going to come out sooner rather than later. We are facing a big week in terms of the revelation of some of this stuff. I know that the president has announced or said that he will declassify certain documents. He has given the authority to the AG, Bill Barr, to declassify. Some of those documents will be revealed this upcoming week, correct?
Well, as we start to look at some of these documents, Maria, Bill Barr, the Attorney General, has been dead set about making sure that transparency is there for all Americans to view. You know, we've had one narrative. The Democrats had their best day when Bob Mueller actually did his press conference as he was leaving the Department of Justice. I can tell you that the more evidence that we see, the more that the American people can judge for themselves, they'll start to understand why this president has been so upset and why he's called it, a hoax, because indeed, in many ways, it was. So we'll start to see some additional documents come out this week. Whether it's the declassified documents or not, I'm not sure. But I can tell you that I have looked at documents at the Department of Justice, as has Jim Jordan. And what we saw was a very clear indication of severe credibility issues as it relates to the dossier and Christopher Steele's credibility.
And John Ratcliffe has been on this program. Trey Gowdy has been on this program. They've also seen certain documents that seem to indicate the same. Here's what Trey Gowdy told us about certain documents that we have not seen so far, but they will be released soon. He's zeroed in on one such. Watch this. The FBI agent's conversations with George Papadopoulos is because when an FBI agent sends in informants to someone they're looking at, typically those conversations are recorded, right? Those people are wired.
Yeah, I mean, if the Bureau is going to send an informant in, the informant's going to be wired. And if the Bureau is monitoring telephone calls, there's going to be a transcript of that. And some of us have been fortunate enough to know whether or not those transcripts exist, but they haven't been made public. And I think one in particular it has the potential to actually persuade people. Very little on this Russia probe, I'm afraid, is going to persuade people who hate Trump or who love Trump. But there is some information in these transcripts that I think has the potential to be a game changer if it's ever made public.
Are we going to see those transcripts next week?
Well, I don't know that we will, but I do agree with Mr. Gowdy that what he has been able to see, and I want to stress that I haven't seen it, that's a classified document, and I've tried to put the pieces of the puzzle together without that. Yeah. But what he's referring to is actually transcripts, I believe, of George Papadopoulos that would show that he was innocent, and yet we somehow have convicted and indicted him as being this guilty Russian collusion.
That's right. Mark Meadows, stay right there. I want to talk just about that when we come right back. Stay with us.
Uh-oh. Looks like someone's still nervous about buying a new house. We live in a
We live in a willing nightmare.